You're watching something rare in real time. A market that went from can't miss to can't sell. And if you own a home in North or South Carolina, that shift isn't a headline. It's your equity. It's your exit plan. It's the difference between selling clean and getting trapped with a mortgage you can't refinance, can't rent profitably, and can't unload without taking a hit. For 2 straight years, the Carolinas were the poster child of the pandemic boom. People poured in from higher cost states chasing space, warm weather, and still affordable prices. Builders overbuilt, investors piled in, locals stretched. Everybody assumed demand would stay infinite. Now the music is changing. Inventory is rising, listings are sitting, and the buyer who used to panic is now patient and picky. The same homes that would have sparked a weekend bidding war are now collecting price cuts, like parking tickets. This isn't a prediction. It's a pattern, and once it starts, it spreads because real estate is psychological. When buyers sense weakness, they stop rushing. When sellers sense weakness, they rush to beat each other to the exit. So today, we're doing a road trip through the Carolina danger zones, the markets that look the most exposed to a painful unwind. Not because the Carolinas are doomed, because parts of the Carolinas got priced, like California. Without California incomes, without California job density, and without a buyer base willing to pay 2022 prices at 2026 interest rates, and that mismatch always gets corrected. Before we drive, here's the framework you need in your head, because it will keep you from getting emotionally fooled by pretty neighborhoods and shiny new builds. A market cracks when 3 things happen at the same time. Supply grows faster than demand. Price cuts become normal instead of rare. Time on market stretches, forcing sellers to compete. When you see those 3 together, you're not in a hot market cooling. You're in a power shift. And the power shift is what destroys equity, quietly at first. Then suddenly when sellers get desperate. Now buckle up. We're counting down 10 Carolina housing markets where the floor looks shakier than most people want to admit. Number 10, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Winston-Salem doesn't feel like a bubble city at first. It feels grounded, practical, old money, and old industry. Neighborhoods with trees, streets that make you think this should be stable. And that's exactly why it's dangerous when the numbers turn. Winston-Salem is the kind of market that got pulled up by the tide. Remote work, investor demand. Everything goes up, but it doesn't have the kind of wage growth that can defend inflated pricing when the tide goes out. So what do you see first in a place like this? You see inventory stack and buyers hesitate. You see sellers who price their home like they were in Charlotte, realizing they're not in Charlotte. Here's what matters if you own here or you're thinking about buying here. Watch price cuts, neighborhood by neighborhood. When price reduced becomes common, sellers are no longer setting the market. Buyers are. Watch days on market. Once the average listing sits long enough for the seller to get nervous, you start seeing concessions, closing costs, repairs, bonus rooms, anything to avoid dropping the headline price. Watch investor pullback. Winston-Salem got attention from institutional money during the boom years. When that demand disappears, a vacuum opens that local buyers can't fill at higher rates. This is how a quiet city becomes a slow bleed, not a crash overnight, a grind. A year of sellers undercutting each other until the comps reset lower. And once comps reset lower, appraisals follow. That's when refinancing and HELOCs dreams die. Number 9, Greensboro, North Carolina. Greensboro is a workhorse city. Logistics, transportation, distribution. It moves, It functions. But housing doesn't care about how functional a city feels. Housing cares about who can qualify and who is buying right now. Greensboro's problem is simple. The market got priced for a wave of demand that doesn't show up every year. And now, in the higher rate environment, the buyer pool shrinks fast. This is where you start seeing the warning signs that most homeowners ignore because they're not dramatic. Listings build up slowly. Then suddenly it feels like every street has a sign. Sellers stop getting full price. Just testing the market becomes we need to sell. New listings arrive faster than closings. That last one is the key. Because when new listings outpace closings, demand is not absorbing supply. So Greensboro becomes a buyer's market, not because it's collapsing, but because it's stagnating under the weight of higher payments. And stagnation is deadly to leveraged homeowners. Because life doesn't pause when housing pauses. People still get transferred. Couples still split. Job situations still change. Kids still grow. Medical stuff happens. And when you must sell in a slow market, you don't get the price you want. You get the price the market will tolerate. Number 8, Spartanburg, South Carolina. Spartanburg is the classic I-85 boom story. Jobs came in. Distribution expanded. Manufacturing grew. People followed. Builders smelled blood in the water and poured concrete like the party at would never end. Now here's the problem. A lot of the supply pipeline was approved when money was cheap. So the market is experiencing something brutal. Homes are finishing construction into a weaker demand environment. That creates the worst kind of pressure because builders are not emotional sellers. They are financial sellers. They've got carrying costs. They've got lenders. They've got timelines. And when builders want out, they cut. They offer incentives. They flood the comp set. If you're a homeowner near new construction, you need to understand what you're competing against. Rate buydowns funded by the builder. Closing costs paid. Upgrades included. Warranties and newness. An individual seller can't compete with that without lowering price. So even if the overall city looks fine, subdivisions near heavy new build zones can get punched in the face. Number 7, Fayetteville, North Carolina. Fayetteville is a special case because it's tied to the military ecosystem. A lot of people assume that makes it bulletproof. It doesn't. It makes it different because military markets can flip fast when people PCS and must sell on a deadline. Buyers use low down payment loans near the peak, and a small price decline wipes out the equity cushion. Here's the trap. In a market where a lot of buyers didn't put much down, even a mild correction can create a wave of, I can't sell unless I bring cash to closing. Now the seller is trapped. And when you trap enough sellers, some of them crack. They rent it out and lose money every month. They try to short sell. They miss payments. In a military town, distress can spread because people move constantly. You don't have the same long, patient homeowner base you see in other markets. That turnover is normally a feature. In a downshift, it becomes a pressure cooker. Number 6, Durham, North Carolina. Durham is where reality starts getting uncomfortable because Durham was supposed to be untouchable. Tech and biotech. The triangle story. The smart money story. The always demand story. But even the best story breaks when affordability breaks. Durham's vulnerability isn't that people won't want to live there. It's that the market moves faster than wages. So the buyer pool becomes selective and smaller. And the first thing to get punished in that environment is the stuff that was built or renovated purely for someone will pay anything. Luxury flips, over-designed renovations, top-of-market listings that assumed a 2021 mindset. You also see rental softness in pockets where supply surged, especially if a lot of new apartments came online at once. That matters because investors don't care about vibes. They care about numbers. When rent growth slows and financing stays expensive, investor demand steps back. And when investor demand steps back, prices stop floating. Number 5, Greenville, South Carolina. Greenville is one of the most loved quality of life cities in the region. And that's the problem. Because when a city becomes a lifestyle brand, prices can detach from fundamentals. Greenville isn't falling apart. It's rebalancing. But rebalance hurts when people bought at the top and assumed appreciation was guaranteed. Greenville's biggest risk is boomtown fatigue. Locals are priced out. Transplants slow down. New construction continues. Sellers who expected instant offers realize they're in line with everyone else. When that happens, sellers stop feeling like winners. They start feeling like competitors. And when sellers feel like competitors, they price like competitors. That's how markets drop without a headline crash. Thousands of small concessions, one price cut at a time. Number 4, Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte is the heavyweight. Banking, finance, corporate jobs, big metro energy. But big metros don't break the way small towns break. They break through segments. Luxury cools, move-up cools. Starter homes hold longer until they don't. Charlotte's exposure comes from two sides at once. Affordability pressure from high rates, white-collar sensitivity if bonuses, hiring, or confidence pulls back. And here's what people forget. A lot of Charlotte's pandemic appreciation was powered by migration and investor activity. When those cool, the market has to be supported by local end-user buyers. End-user buyers are payment sensitive. They don't buy because TikTok says real estate only goes up. They buy because the mortgage fits. So Charlotte can look strong on paper while inventory creeps up and sellers quietly start competing. And once that competition becomes obvious, price cuts, concessions, longer listings, you get a buyer mindset shift. Buyers stop rushing. They start waiting. That's when equity starts disappearing in slow motion. Number 3, Raleigh, North Carolina. Raleigh was the peak frenzy symbol, the place people talked about like it was unstoppable. And here's the truth about unstoppable markets. They only look unstoppable while demand is expanding. The moment demand stalls, the overpricing becomes visible. Raleigh's vulnerability is that expectations hangover. People bought expecting fast appreciation, easy resale, instant demand, constant inbound migration. But the market is now operating under a different reality. Higher monthly payments, more cautious buyers, more inventory compared to the tightest years. So Raleigh isn't dead. It's just no longer forgiving. And when a market stops being forgiving, the most over-leveraged homeowners find out first. Number 2, Columbia, South Carolina. Columbia is usually steady. Government jobs, university energy, a baseline of consistent demand. But steady doesn't mean immune. Because Columbia is an affordability market, and affordability markets snap when rates rise. Here's what happens in cities like this. Prices went up because money was cheap. Now money isn't cheap. So the payment ceiling shows up fast. And when the payment ceiling shows up, sellers either cut price, offer concessions, or sit and wait. The ones who can wait will wait. The ones who can't will cut. And the cutters set the comps. So Columbia becomes a place where buyers regain leverage quickly, especially in neighborhoods that got stretched too far too fast. Number 1, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Myrtle Beach is where things get serious because Myrtle Beach isn't primarily an end user market. It's a discretionary market. Vacation condos, second homes, short term rentals, and discretionary markets don't correct gently. They correct violently when the math stops working. Here's why Myrtle Beach is the most exposed. If an owner is relying on short-term rental income to cover the mortgage and occupancy weakens or costs spike, the property turns from asset to liability fast. Then owners rush to sell. And when investors rush to sell at the same time, price cuts spread like a disease. This is exactly how 2008 looked in many resort markets. Not everyone's selling because they hate the area. Everyone's selling because the numbers stop making sense. In a second home market, the nice to have goes first. When budgets tighten, the beach condo is the first thing people list, not the primary home, the toy. That's why Myrtle Beach ends up as ground zero when the cycle turns. What this road trip is really showing you is simple. Across both states, the pattern is the same. More listings, more sitting inventory, more price reductions, more negotiation, less urgency. If you're a buyer, this is what you do with that information. You stop rushing. You stop bidding against yourself. You demand inspections, concessions, and clear numbers. You treat every hot neighborhood like it can cool because it can. If you're a homeowner, here's the hard truth. You don't get to choose the market. You only get to choose your timing and your strategy. So if you need to sell in the next 12 to 24 months, the smartest move is clarity. What's your true net after closing costs? What's your competition doing, especially builders? How many price cuts are happening in your exact zip code? What's your plan if it takes 90 days, not 9? Because the worst decision you can make in a shifting market is pretending it's still 2021. That's how people lose years. They list too high. They chase the market down. They burn time. They get stale. Then they accept an offer they could have accepted months earlier, except now it's lower. That's not bad luck. That's misreading the cycle. So don't let FOMO pull you into a deal you'll regret. And don't let denial trap you in a property you can't exit. In the Carolinas right now, leverage is shifting back to the buyer, especially in the most overbuilt, investor-heavy, and affordability-stretched pockets. If you found this breakdown useful, support the channel by liking the video, subscribing for more real estate trend breakdowns, and sharing it with anyone thinking about buying or selling in the Carolinas right now, and drop a comment. Which Carolina market do you think takes the hardest hit over the next 12 months and why?